Thank you, Tamika. Good evening, viewers, and welcome to tonight's regional news. We begin with news from Trinidad and Tobago. Any Venezuelan who is repatriated, even if they were registered with government, will have to apply for a visa and get exemptions and permissions if they wish to return to the country, National Security Minister Stuart Young said on Tuesday. Young, at a press conference, reminded reporters that after Venezuelans were registered in June 2018, government approved a policy that would require any Venezuelan entering Trinidad and Tobago to have a visa. This is the applicable law, he said. He also highlighted a decision on March 22 last year to close Trinidad and Tobago's borders due to the pandemic. Young noted that he laid that contextual background to let it be known at the outset that this re-registration exercise is not an opportunity for any people who illegally entered into Trinidad and Tobago or people who don't have visas to be here in Trinidad and Tobago to come forward and register now. The re-registration process would allow Venezuelan migrants to work and live in Trinidad and Tobago legally for another 6 months. And now for some more news. The Caribbean Poison Information Network, CARPIN, is appealing to Jamaicans to guard against overusing chemicals for the purpose of cleaning and sanitizing their spaces while trying to abide by COVID-19 protocols. Poison Information Coordinator at CARPIN, Sharika Whitelock Balancing, said that a recent online survey found that a majority of persons were using chemicals more than 7 times per day for cleaning and sanitizing. Whitelock Balancing said that one of the practices adopted by many of the respondents, particularly in the early days of the pandemic, between April and May, was the spraying of bed linen, towels, clothes, and rooms with sanitizers. She said that the practice is concerning as it could cause dermatological and respiratory problems. She suggested that a safe way to sterilize bed linen is by ironing them, noting that heat and steam are effective in destroying microorganisms. She pointed out that she does not advise that persons spray their towels before putting it on their body. The item sprayed is going to be observed through the skin, and it starts from a small dose each day until it accumulates within the body. Whitelock Balancing is also advising persons not to spray chemicals on their masks, noting that CARPIN has found this to be the case through observation and calls made to the facility. Whitelock Balancing further cautioned against the mixing of chemicals, as this results in the creation of harmful chemical compounds. We now turn our attention to Haiti. Department of Homeland Security officials acknowledge internally that deported Haitian immigrants, I quote, may face harm, end of quote, upon returning to their home country due to the violent crime and political instability that has rocked the country in recent months, according to documents. The political instability in Haiti, which has reached a fever pitch in recent weeks after the opposition party's call for the president to step down failed, has created another dilemma for the Biden administration's goal to slowly roll back former President Donald Trump's immigration policies, while at the same time relying on some of them to prevent people from entering the United States at the southern border. The Biden administration has continued to use the Trump-era border policy to turn back immigrants at the border, including Haitians, much to the chagrin of advocates who point out that it effectively seals the borders. Since March 2020, border officials have used a section of the Public Health Code known as Title 42 to immediately turn back immigrants at the border in order to halt the spread of the coronavirus. And finally, on the international scene, United Nations Human Rights Chief Michelle Bachelet said multiple parties to the conflict are possible perpetrators of sexual violence and killings. The United Nations Rights Chief says that her office has corroborated grave violations that could amount to, and I quote, war crimes and crimes against humanity, end of quote, in Ethiopia's Tigray region, including by Eritrean troops. Michelle Bachelet stressed in a statement on Thursday the urgent need for an independent investigation into the situation in Tigray, which has been rocked by months of fighting. The United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights went on to say that multiple parties to the conflict had been identified as possible perpetrators, including the Ethiopian National Defense Forces, the Tigray People's Liberation Front, the Eritrean Armed Forces, the Amhara Regional Forces, and allied militia. Bachelet said in a statement, victims and survivors of these violations must not be denied their rights to the truth and to justice, expressing her fear that violations could continue with impunity. And that is all for your regional news. Thank you for joining. Back to you, Tamika.